Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Vox Agent is made by AI for business executives that work with AI.
That's absolutely right. And today, we are launching a deep dive into a really critical piece of strategic intelligence, the Anthropic Economic Index, or AEI. Specifically, we're looking at the September 2025 report generated by Vox Agent. This thing is essentially a live AI-driven snapshot of where the global economy stands, but importantly, filtered through the lens of AI adoption. Our mission today, it's pretty simple, but honestly quite urgent. This report, we think, contains the blueprint for maybe the next 2 years of corporate strategy. So we're here to cut through all that data and really pull out the most vital, actionable insights you need to secure your competitive edge, like right now.
And look, to really get the value from this report, we have to start with its foundation, which is Anthropic principles.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just some academic jargon. In this context, it defines a human-centric approach. Human-centric AI development and, crucially, how we model the economy.
Exactly. The AEI argues this approach is, well, absolutely non-negotiable for executives today. It's about moving beyond just optimizing for raw efficiency.
Right.
It demands that your AI strategy must also deliver equitable and sustainable growth for, the broader society.
So it's not just tech advice, then. It's really fundamental business strategy for the long haul.
Precisely.
The report seems to really hammer home that adopting this kind of anthropic AI framework isn't just a nice-to-have for your CSR report.
Not at all.
It's framed as a critical imperative for mitigating potentially huge risks and, frankly, ensuring your organization stays relevant in this market that's changing so fast.
Yes, right. We really need to stop viewing ethics as just some compliance box to tick and start seeing it as infrastructure, infrastructure that's essential for stability and long-term success. Okay, let's establish the context of speed first, because honestly, this is the first data point that should make every executive really sit up straight.
Okay, hit me with it.
The adoption rate of AI right now. The AEI report describes it as truly unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, we're talking about a speed that just blows past previous tech revolutions. Think the internet, think mobile computing. Yep. The pace is, well, it's breathtaking.
Breathtaking feels like an understatement sometimes. I mean, if you actually look at the raw numbers in the report, they really confirm this velocity.
They do.
Get this. The report shows that by September 2025, so right now, basically, a staggering 40% of U.S. employees reported actively using AI tools at work.
40%. That's huge.
It is. And to put that into perspective for you listening, that's double the adoption rate. A full 100% increase from where we were just 2 years back in 2023. It's at 20% then.
Wow. A doubling in 2 years.
That's not just adoption. That feels like a corporate wildfire,
A wildfire is a good way to put it. And look, the only way to track a wildfire that fast is through, well, new kinds of data.
Right.
Which brings us to how the index actually measures this. It wisely avoids relying only on those traditional quarterly surveys. They always lag, right?
Always.
Yeah. The AEI is unique because it integrates real-world usage data directly from Anthropic's Claude AI assistant.
Ah, okay. So it's tapping into actual usage. That's a massive methodological advantage, isn't it?
It really is. By analyzing millions of these anonymized user conversations, the AEI gives us this granular, almost real-time perspective on AI's actual influence across different sectors, different geographies.
So they're analyzing what people do every day, not just what they say they might do in a survey?
Exactly. What they do, not just what they intend to do.
So what are people doing with it? I remember early AI usage was mostly, basic computer stuff, mathematical tasks.
That's right.
But the report highlights a really significant strategic shift happening now. It's moving toward creative and complex knowledge-based tasks.
Yes, and this shift is primarily driven by the more advanced models coming online, like Claude 3.7 Sonnet.
Okay.
The report says this model excels in extended thinking.
Extended thinking. What does that really mean for an executive?
It means the AI isn't just, say, summarizing a report for you anymore. It's capable of building complex arguments, synthesizing information from lots of different disparate sources, even debating strategic roadmaps internally within the system. It fundamentally shifts the executive role, maybe from being the synthesizer of information to being the evaluator of these advanced AI-generated concepts.
That implies a pretty major change in the skill sets we'll need.
Absolutely. And tied to that, we also see the rise of something the AEI calls agentic coding.
Agentic coding. Okay, crucial jargon alert. What is it?
Right. So it's where the AI proactively identifies a software goal like, we need this feature, then it writes the complex code needed,
It writes the code itself.
writes it, runs the tests, debugs itself when it finds errors, and refines the solution. It essentially acts like an independent, highly efficient software engineer. And this capacity, this agentic coding, is really what's driving the velocity we're seeing in that 40% adoption number. Businesses are leveraging these almost self-sufficient tools to just radically accelerate their product cycles.
Okay, so moving from that sheer speed of change to the strategy required, the AEI report brings up a finding that, honestly, should probably dominate your next board meeting agenda.
Which is?
Ethical AI. It's framed not just as, a compliance necessity, something you have to do,
Right.
but as a crucial competitive differentiator.
Exactly. And this is where those anthropic principles we talked about basically become cash flow.
Okay, explain that.
Companies that visibly embed ethical practices and demonstrate them. Things like absolute transparency in how AI decisions are made, rigorous checks for bias, solid data governance, they gain an immediate market advantage. Yes, it enhances brand reputation, but maybe more importantly, it locks in deeper customer trust and much stronger stakeholder relationships.
So it's almost like an investment in business resilience. What happens to the companies that lag behind on this ethical piece?
Well, the report is pretty clear here. It cautions that ethical lapses aren't minor PR headaches anymore. Not in this era where AI influence is so central to everything: hiring, loan applications, you name it.
Right.
A single public ethical lapse can severely damage a company's reputation, almost certainly invite regulatory scrutiny, and fundamentally hinder its long-term financial success. Trust has effectively become a quantifiable asset on the balance sheet.
A quantifiable asset. But the index is also quick to point out that this massive benefit, driven partly by that 40% adoption rate, is not distributed equally.
That's a key point.
And this seems like maybe the largest systemic challenge the report outlines. We're seeing these profound variations across different geographical regions and maybe even more acutely within organizations themselves.
Absolutely. Often favoring, say, the highly skilled technical divisions over the operational teams on the ground.
So what are the implications of that unevenness?
If we connect this uneven distribution to the bigger global picture, it presents a real risk to global operations. The AEI highlights that this disparity could worsen existing economic inequalities between regions.
Okay.
But for the global executive listening, it also translates directly into supply chain and operational risk.
Oh.
Fragmented adoption means fragmented data standards, potentially mismatched regulatory environments across different countries you operate in.
Which means more complexity, more risk.
Both. It really calls for increased cross-industry collaboration. Businesses, policymakers, researchers, they need to work together much more closely.
Right.
The report explicitly emphasizes the need for international cooperation to try and harmonize AI regulations. Because without some shared ethical guidelines and standards, this uneven adoption risks creating this widening gap.
A chasm.
Yeah, a chasm between the high-tech economies forging ahead and those still struggling to just implement foundational AI infrastructure. And that lack of harmony, it can seriously slow down global business expansion for everyone.
Okay, let's try and ground some of this theory in, real tangible impact. The AEI report gives some pretty compelling case studies showing massive ROI. Let's start with manufacturing, often seen as a bit slow to change, right?
Typically, yes.
Well, the integration of predictive maintenance AI tools in one major multinational corporation yielded really profound results.
The finding there was truly dramatic, actually. They saw a substantial 40% decrease in machine downtime.
40%.
40%. And when you translate that reduction, you're not just looking at saving costs on repairs.
Right. It's more than that.
It's a corresponding massive increase in production output and overall efficiency. For any manufacturer, that means greater capital velocity, more responsiveness to market demand. It's huge.
And what's crucial here, tying it back to that core concept we started with, this manufacturing example seems to perfectly illustrate the dual benefit of those anthropic principles in action.
Precisely. These smart AI-driven systems, they prioritize both efficiency and worker safety simultaneously. The AI is optimizing the factory environment, not just for maximum production, but also for reducing the risk of equipment failure that could potentially endanger workers. It's a more holistic approach to optimization.
That makes sense. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's look at financial services, often an earlier adopter of advanced tech.
True.
AI is being used pretty extensively there for immediate, high-stakes risk mitigation. The report cites a really fascinating and, frankly, impressive specific example from Turkey.
Yes, that one stood out. Financial institutions there are analyzing over 40 million transactions, every single day.
40 million daily.
Wow. This massive real-time fraud analysis capability, deployed over a 7-year period, has achieved a remarkable 98.7% reduction in fraud-related losses.
Okay, stop and think about that number for a second. 98.7% reduction in fraud losses. That's basically eliminating it.
It's incredibly close.
That's resilience against global financial crime on a scale we haven't seen before. That level of security must fundamentally change the risk profile of an entire financial market, wouldn't it?
It absolutely does. And this capability also has a really crucial inclusion aspect to it.
How so?
AI is also enabling more personalized banking services and, critically, better access to credit for communities that were previously underserved.
Because it can see patterns traditional models miss.
Exactly. Because AI can analyze non-traditional, often non-linear data sets, things that traditional credit scoring just ignores. It helps bridge that credit gap much more safely. It connects the Anthropic goal of inclusion with a profitable, expanded market outcome.
And this kind of brings us back to forecasting, doesn't it? Which seems transformative across pretty much all sectors, but maybe particularly in volatile ones like finance or even supply chains.
Absolutely. Traditional economic models, they often lag the market by weeks, even months. They rely too much on historical linearity.
Which doesn't always hold true anymore.
Not in today's world. But AI algorithms, especially advanced machine learning and deep learning, they excel at identifying those complex nonlinear patterns. They can integrate real-time qualitative data, think news sentiment, geopolitical shifts bubbling up, social media trends, and provide actionable insights almost instantly.
So for an executive listening, whether they're in financial services or manufacturing or retail?
It means the ability to adjust inventory or pricing or hedging strategies in near real time, based on true current market indicators, not just looking back at last quarter's results. That's a huge competitive advantage. So as we look ahead, based on the AEI report, probably the largest organizational challenge that keeps coming up is workforce adaptation.
Right, the people side.
The people side. It's a massive structural shift we're facing. Businesses can't just deploy AI tools and then expect their existing employees to instantly figure it out and absorb these new ways of working.
So what's the mandatory executive action here? What do leaders need to be doing?
They must proactively invest, and I really mean invest, not just allocate some small training budget in comprehensive reskilling and upskilling initiatives.
Yeah.
Because AI integration demands this fundamental shift. We need roles that focus more on high creativity, strategic thinking, complex problem solving. The AEI frames this not as some optional cost center, but as a crucial long-term investment in your human capital. The workforce is really shifting from being executors of tasks to becoming orchestrators of AI-driven processes.
Yeah, we're orchestrators. I like that. And this is where it seems every challenge the report outlines actually morphs into a pretty significant opportunity for you, the strategic leader, the learner listening to this.
That's a good way to look at it.
Let's quickly break down maybe 3 key tension points the AEI identifies, turning the challenge into the opportunity. First, the challenge of regulatory compliance. Navigating this complex, rapidly evolving global landscape of regulations like the big EU AI Act. It's daunting, especially for international companies.
It definitely is. But the opportunity here is that proactive compliance, actually getting ahead of those regulations, not just reacting it, dramatically enhances your brand reputation. And it completely minimizes those reputational and financial risks we talked about earlier. It positions you not just as compliant, but potentially as an industry leader, helping to set the standards for safe, ethical AI deployment.
Okay, second, the challenge of bias and fairness. We know AI systems, often trained on historical data, can unintentionally perpetuate or even amplify societal biases,
A huge concern.
leading to potentially unfair outcomes in really sensitive areas like hiring or lending.
But this challenge, however difficult, creates a new and potentially highly profitable opportunity. There's now a vital burgeoning market for fairness-focused software solutions and auditing services.
Ah, okay, a new market.
Absolutely. Continuous monitoring and rigorous auditing processes are becoming essential table stakes. Executives who invest in making their AI demonstrably fairer will likely unlock access to broader customer bases and significantly mitigate systemic risk.
Right. And finally, the challenge of data privacy. AI obviously thrives on vast amounts of data, and this creates immense privacy and security concerns globally.
A constant headache for CIOs and legal teams.
So what's the opportunity there?
The opportunity lies in adopting innovative, privacy-preserving technologies. The AEI specifically highlights things like federated learning.
Federated learning.
Yeah, this allows advanced analytics to be performed across distributed data sets without ever needing to move or expose the sensitive raw data itself.
Interesting.
It addresses those privacy concerns head-on while still enabling the kind of powerful advanced analysis that's driving that 40% adoption rate we keep mentioning.
Okay, so to kind of synthesize all this required executive action, the AEI report's key recommendations seem pretty unified, don't they?
They do seem to point in a clear direction.
Prioritize those ethical frameworks we discussed. Mandate full transparency in how your AI processes work. Foster strategic partnerships, both internally and externally. And continuously leverage AI for enhanced real-time forecasting accuracy. That seems key to maintaining that competitive edge. Ultimately, the Anthropic Economic Index makes it, I think, undeniably clear that embracing this human-centric AI strategy, this anthropic AI, it's not just ethically necessary anymore.
No.
It is arguably the single most strategically advantageous move for securing long-term success and building resilience in this really unprecedented era of technological change.
And maybe, just to leave our listeners with a final thought, this deep dive into the AEI report raises a really important, bigger question. It's for executives, yes, but also for policymakers and global leaders.
Okay.
Given the staggering speed we've discussed, and especially the uneven adoption of AI, that 40% rate being heavily concentrated in certain areas and industries,
Right.
the implications really stretch far beyond just maximizing corporate profits. They go right into the heart of global policy. So the question is, what role must robust international cooperation play now to harmonize AI standards, to ensure that the incredibly powerful benefits of this technology are accessed equitably by all nations, all communities, rather than potentially exacerbating the existing global inequalities we already struggle with? That policy work, getting that right,
Yeah.
that feels like the next great frontier.
A crucial question indeed. Food for thought. Thank you for joining the podcast and see you soon.